Hi, welcome to Public Speaking Secrets, where we teach you how to speak better. When you speak better, you live better. My name is Christopher Kai. Today's episode, we're going to profile Amanda Gorman. She was the inaugural poet at US President Joe Biden's inauguration. Let us begin.
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is hours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man.
Woo! There's a lot going on here that we're going to unpack for all of you here. So, she is really, as what Bill Gates has described Steve Jobs, she is what Bill Gates called a wizard of words. She does so many things right. From the very beginning, before she speaks one word from her mouth, look at her in terms of her attire. Usually a lot of women wear, or men too, by the way, because there's a color theory involved in this. They might have red in terms of the top because that conveys power. Blue conveys loyalty. Royal blue conveys royalty. In her case, she wears yellow. She's a young woman in her 20s, and yellow is playful, conveying her generation. But clearly she has this deep red on top of her head as if it's a crown, and that's all by design. So just the fact that she is so poised, her colors convey both her youth, her playfulness, but power. Already before she says one word, you already know she means business, and she's going to be representing her generation. So let's dive in. The very poem, it's the hill we climb, and just the very first word she shares is she talks about how when day comes, we ask ourselves where we can find light in this never-ending shade. Very beginning, she talks about how she's welcoming. And then already she dives into contrast where how can we find light in this never-ending shade? She doesn't say darkness. Most people would usually be ready for darkness, but she says shade. And then she just uses a lot of alliteration. Alliteration is when you use in a sentence, in a phrase, the same consonant sound of different words. So in this case, she uses 3 alliterations. She says, we brave the belly of the beast. Again, alliteration is so powerful. She uses that and she goes next level, next level, next level. Just like when you watch these Olympians, when they're doing figure skating, you're like, oh, they just did a triple Lutz or a quadruple Lutz. It all seems so easy looking. But in her case, she goes from we brave the belly of the beast, 3 alliteration sounds, to when she ends it, she has not 3, 4, 5, or 6, she has 7. She says, to compose a country committed to all the cultures, colors, and characters and conditions. That's phenomenal. Literally, it's like a 7 times Lutz or whatever you call it in the figure skating world, but in the speaking world, in the wizardry world, she is really, really, really good at using alliterations. She's also really, really, really good at using contrast, where later in the speech, she talks about how when we grieve, we grow. And when we have to hurt, we heal. All these contrasts and alliteration, and she uses her body language to emphasize that, which talks about how she descended from slaves. She's looking down, or she's using a downward motion, but she's risen up or raised by her mother, upward motion. So she's really, really, really good at using body language to convey her points, really good at using alliteration, really good at using contrast. And the last thing I'll share, as all speakers do, you have to have a relatability. Sometimes when I meet people and I talk to people, they say, "Oh, Christopher, you're a keynote speaker. You travel the world." "Oh, I've been told many times," but they say it in a way that they speak as if people want to hear them speak. Bluntly speaking, no one wants to hear me speak. They want to hear my story. And hopefully that's connected to your story. All of us have that same connection that we want because we're human beings. In her case, she talks about how she's a skinny Black kid descended from slaves, raised by a single mom who can dream about being president only to find herself reciting for one. In that one phrase, that one sentence, she talks about her vulnerabilities or her humble beginnings, but gives her mom praise of saying that was raised by her single mother. But how aspirational is that? This is why we all love the rags to riches stories, the underdog story. This is why we love Rocky. This is why we love Oprah. This is why we love every single person who came from humble beginnings and is doing great things. In her case, how many 22-year-old young men or women, in her case, are able to recite a speech or a poem for the US president? It's just phenomenal. So just know that if you want to share a story, if you want to inspire people, have good posture, use alliteration, making sure you have contrast, grieve, growth, hurt, hope. Use your body language to convey those points, but make sure you have some level of relatability. In Amanda's case, she talks about how she grew up with a single mother. She's a descendant from slaves. In my case, I always talk about how I was born and raised in New York City. My mom's a former school teacher. My dad's a former case manager. I grew up no money, no access, no connections. I was punished for talking too much in class. And now I get paid a lot of money to talk around the world. So watch her speech in entirety or poem in entirety. You can do this. When you speak better, you live better. If you like these videos, please go ahead and show some love by clicking that like button and also supporting this channel by subscribing. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.